Welcome Sagittarius, Dadhichi here from astrology.com.au with your May 2017 horoscope. This is for those of you born with the sun sign of Sagittarius, ascendant Sagittarius, or even if you know your moon sign. Some of what I'm about to say may just apply to you as well. You know, your ruling planet's retrograde right now. It is in the 11th house of friendships. And unfortunately, Mercury has also been retrograde in the opposite part of the heavens. Venus has just moved into the 5th house in the opposite part of the heavens. So you have there, along with Uranus, 3 planets opposite your zone of friendships. You know, the retrogression can empower planets, especially if they're rulers or friendly to you. Jupiter, of course, being your ruling planet, means you are endowed with more strength, more passion. But are you applying this in the correct manner to the social circumstances in your life at the moment? You have to be careful to not put too much energy into people, groups, clubs, associations, etc., when you're not getting anything back out of that. So this is really a reappraisal period, which, you know, even the laymen are quite aware of that. When Mercury is retrograded, it's time to think things through rather than forging ahead and making decisions which may not be in your best interest at this time. So it's sort of a reconnaissance mission to, reappraise things, find out about your friends. If you've got some doubts about them, it's quite okay to step away. It's quite okay to ask questions. It's quite okay. And, if people retaliate and they rebut, then, you've got to use your intuition in this case, of which you have ample, to make sure that what they are saying is in keeping with what you feel comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with the situation, you need to put an end to that. So this, I think, is one of the key issues for you now. Mind you, Venus moving in the 5th house is pretty nice. It doesn't happen every day. Venus in the 5th house is the house of love affairs, creativity, children. It's going to lend a nice counterbalance to that retrogression of Mercury and the unexpected conjunction that we see there with the planet Uranus. And actually, when it goes forward on the 4th of the month, it's going to eventually cross over Uranus and create some instability in your relationships with lovers, with children. Again, as I said, Venus is a counteraction to that. So fortunately, that's going to help you. But I'd say you need to maybe wait till around the 10th or the 11th before things will calm down in that area. Now, if you're being impulsive, if you've met someone new right now, which is indicated by the movement of Venus in this area, or let's just say even if you haven't met someone new, a revitalization of a current relationship, you need to be a little watchful of that current retrogression of Mercury up until the 11th. Now, why do I say the 11th? It moves forward on the 4th. Most of you say, hang on, why shouldn't that give the results immediately? Some astrologers, and I'm of the same opinion, that when the planet moves forward again, you need to wait till it's pretty much past that point in the zodiac where it actually went retrograde. And it's even more important because Saturn is retrograde in your sun sign, and Jupiter, as I mentioned at the outset, is retrograde. We've only just seen Venus move direct recently. So there's a lot of stuff that seems to be on its head now. So it's timely for you to be circumspect before rushing madly in where fools dare. We see a full moon taking place in your 12th house on the 11th. That coincides with that date that I'm mentioning. The 12th house is a house of seclusion. It's the house of self-analysis and introspection. It's similar to the 8th house of the horoscope, where the moon is transiting at the outset of the month of May 2017. So there's some strong psychological components to this reading, and that will be more pronounced when the full moon takes place in this 12th house. You will want to spend time on your own and to maybe reappraise some of the elements of your relationships. The moon for you rules your sexuality. It rules some of the psychological complexes of your personality, ruling the 8th house. And this is a perfect time for you to delve deeply through meditation and some other activities to release some of those complexes. And that is essential, especially if what we're saying is that there are opportunities for new relationships for some of you. If you don't have the foundation right, and because relationships are an emotional interaction, you're going to screw that up. You need to get that all sorted out. And so this is a perfect time. The other thing is that there's a new moon taking place on the 26th in the sign of Gemini. So there we see the position of Mars right now, the transit of the Sun, which will take place on the 21st, and then the new moon taking place in that identical position on the 26th. 3 pretty heavyweight astrological occurrences in your 7th house of marriage. The placement of Mars there right now is not so good. It can bring with it some dispute, some argumentation, some irascible behavior on the part of your partner. If you're married or in a relationship, even business partners fall under the umbrella of this particular combination. But what that tells us is that, yes, after that full moon on the 11th, which gives you the opportunity for some introspection and some self-analysis, that the new moon brings with it a new chapter in your relationships. Be careful though, because if you're impulsive and you're letting Mars do the work for you, then that could be, breaking things off prematurely when things can actually be fixed. The Sun moving through this area will also bring with it what's called combustion. It will burn up that Mars as it transits closer and closer to it, being the faster moving planet. That will give its full effects more than likely earlier in the month of June, and we'll talk about that next month when we catch up. But this is also the 5th ruler. So your relationships, your love affairs, your marriage, all of this is tied in, and this seems to be what these planetary energies are pointing to. So I want you to slow things down. I want you to not react to the reactions of your partner, and look at this as a new phase beginning for you. The new moon usually does that, and being in your 7th house, it's very likely to impact you. Some astrologers have an unusual view that the 7th house, being the 4th house to the 4th house, has also to do with your domestic situation and can indicate a change or a movement away from where you've been. So that's a research point. If any of you would like to respond to that, I'd be more than happy to take that on board, and I'm curious to see how that's working out for you. Fortunately, the very final aspect on the 31st is that ruler of your 7th house, Mercury, moving into a favourable trine aspect to Pluto, indicating transformative communications and an opportunity to really connect at the heart level. Do join me next month for the next exciting episode of Sagittarius for June 2017. In the meantime, you can visit my site, astrology.com.au, where we have the text-based month-by-month readings there, along with the yearly readings, so you can see things in the bigger picture as well. Look forward to your company next month. Take care now. Bye-bye.